Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Sneha for CELPIP and IELTS. Now on this channel we talk about strategies, tips and tricks related to both CELPIP and IELTS. And in today's video, I will be discussing with you the reading section of IELTS. So if you have watched my previous video, we discussed true, false, not given types of question there. Today we'll be discussing another question type of IELTS reading which is very important, and that is sentence completions. Now when we talk about reading sentence completions, these types of questions, they are seen both in academic IELTS as well as in general IELTS, and these are nothing but fill in the blanks. It's just that in these form of question, the fill in the blank, the space that will appear at the end of the sentence generally. So you have a sentence and then you have a blank and then a full stop. So you have to complete the sentence. In most of the cases, we'll see that the format of this question type follows this style only. So there are some of the things like these sentence completion types question, they can be tricky at sometimes. Tricky in the sense that there are some things that you need to keep in mind when you're trying to solve these questions, and there are certain things that you should be very much cautious about. Now, these are the things that you really need to remember when you're solving these types of questions in your examination, because one mistake can cost you your band for sure. So there are some of the things that you need to keep in mind. Let's discuss them. First of all, whenever you're doing sentence completion types of question, make sure that you read the instructions very carefully. Now in your reading part, on the top of each set of questions, you will find certain instructions written, and you have to read those instructions very carefully, because if you're not going to follow them, your answers will be marked wrong. And the number one thing about these instructions is that of word limit. You have to be very careful about the word limit. Now, if the instruction says that you have to use one word only, that means in your sentence completion, in your answer, you can only write one word only. So let's say over there, the answer was hotel. This was the answer. And instead of writing hotel, you wrote the hotel. Now what's going to happen is, because you did not follow the instruction, the word limit, which was one word only, you wrote two words, the hotel. Also the answer was correct. It was the correct one in your answer. However, simply because you did not follow the word limit, it is going to be marked wrong. So you have to be very careful about the words that you're going to write. Word limit, number of words. So please follow the word limit very carefully. Follow the instructions related to the word limit very carefully. The second mistake that most of the candidates they do make, that is this: writing singular word instead of a plural form, and writing plural form instead of a singular word. Now here what happens is, let's say in your answer you had to write chair. So let's say in your answer you had to write chair, which is singular, and instead you wrote chairs, which is plural. So again, it is going to be marked wrong. You have to be careful about the plural or singular, the number of the word that you're going to write. And it's true the other way around as well. So if the answer was chairs and you instead wrote chair, it is going to be marked wrong. So you have to be very careful about this thing as well, that if there has to be a singular word, please use singular form. And if there has to be a plural word, please use the plural form in your answer. The third thing that you have to make sure that you do not make an error in this one is grammatical mistakes. Now, what I mean by grammatical mistakes is generally the parts of speech. For example, let's say in your answer, the word that had to come was successful. So we know in English, successful is an adjective, right? It's an adjective. And instead, you wrote your answer success. It's a noun in English. So it's again going to be marked wrong. Why? Because there had to be an adjective and you wrote its noun form instead. So it's going to be marked wrong. So you have to be again very cautious about the grammatical mistakes. Please do not make any mistakes related to the correct part of speech in your answer. Alright, so these are the three things that you have to be very cautious about when you're writing your answers in sentence completion types of questions. So now let us talk about the sentence completion type of question, and today we're going to solve one complete sentence types of question part that's been taken from one of the practice tests of IELTS. Now over here, you can see that this is the text. So in your reading comprehension, this type of text would be given to you, and based on this text would be certain sentence completion questions. And you can see in most of the questions, the blank, the space where you have to fill the answer, the word, that is at the end of the sentence. Hence, these are called sentence completion types of question. In some cases, it can be in the middle of the question as well. Now, read the instructions first very carefully. The instructions over here, they say that complete the notes below, choose one word only. So, it's a very clearly written instruction that you have to use only one word for your answer. It cannot be more than a word. And you have to choose that one word from the text. So make sure that the answer that you're going to write for these 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, these questions, that word has to be taken from the text. You're not going to write its synonym at all. You have to write that one word, exactly that word that's given in the text. Please note that. Now, over here, if you people have watched my previous video about true, false, not given, we discussed one thing, one concept, one kind of a hack that's there, and that hack is, order. Now what happens is, the order of the text and the order of the questions here, those two orders are same. That means the information related to question number 21 would appear first. Only then will be there information related to question number 22. Then information related to question number 23 and so on. So the order of the questions that follows the order of the text. That is true about these sentence completion types of questions. So it makes it easier for you people that when you're trying to solve these questions. So it's a kind of a time saving hack for you, I would say, and something that is very much needed when it comes to, examinations such as CELPIP and IELTS. It's very much needed. You are already, short of time. There is paucity of time. So we need to be better at time management for sure. And this hack, it absolutely helps over there. So what you have to do, let's say, I am solving my question number 21. For question number 21, I start reading, let's say, from the very beginning. And the answer for question number 21 was, let's say, in this line over here. So there was my word for question number 21. Now, when I solve question number 22, what I'll be doing is, I will be reading from the very next word, that is this. I'm not going to waste my time reading from the beginning of this text. So that's kind of a time saver for you, a time management hack for you people. Similarly, let's say I found my question number 22, the answer for my question number 22 over here. Yes, so let us say I found my answer for question number 22 over here. Now for question number 23, what I'm going to do is I am going to read from here. I'm again not going to waste my time reading from here, not at all, because I know the order of the question that follows the order of the text. So 21 would be first, 22 would be next, then will be 23, 24 and so on. So this is something that you need to remember for these types of questions. It's going to save a lot of time for you people, and you already know this thing, that each and every second is important when it comes to examinations such as IELTS, right? Alright, so keeping that in mind, let's begin with the discussion of how actually we solve these sentence types of questions, sentence completion types of questions. Alright, so now let's begin with the discussion of this sentence completion type of question, and we have to remember this thing that the order of the passage, the text, it follows the order of the question. Both the orders are same. Now, here again we are going to use two skills which are scanning and skimming. So if you people know, scanning is, we have already discussed this in one of our previous videos. So scanning is where you move your eyes very quickly around the text searching for a particular keyword, and skimming is where you're trying to understand the main idea, the purpose, the summary, the gist of the text. So you scan for the keyword. Once you're able to locate the keyword, read around the text, try to understand what it's trying to say, and if it's the same information that you're looking for, so that's what you have to do when it comes to solving these questions, and that is what scanning and skimming is about. Now, with that in mind, let's read question number 1. It says, help with issues related to disabilities, example, provision of a suitable something. So now, what I have to do, first of all, as soon as I read the question, I have to mark my keywords. So keywords here are, some help is given for issues related to disabilities, and then there is the example that I have to complete. So with respect to this, there must be one example given which says provision of a suitable something. Now provision is another keyword. Provision means to make something available. So if someone has an issue related to disability, help is provided. An example of that would be something is made available to that person. So this is what we have to locate in our text. So let us use scanning and let us scan help disabilities provision. So I move my eyes very quickly around the beginning. This appendix considers how to handle problems of absence and gives guidance about authorized and unauthorized absence of employees from work. Here, I cannot see any of these keywords. I keep on reading. The organization should be aware of the rights of employees and, in particular, the requirements of the Equality Act 2010 when making any decisions about absences of employees who are disabled. So I definitely see this word over here, employees who are disabled. I have one of my keywords. In these cases, the employer should consider what reasonable adjustments could be made in the workplace to help the employee. This might be something as simple as supplying an appropriate chair for the use of employee. So, I definitely have my keywords. I can see help, I can see disability, disabled, I can see provision, adjustment, supplying something, making something available. And what is that one thing that has been given as an example? That those who have disabilities related issue, they can be helped by providing something. That is supplying an appropriate chair. So my answer here would be chair. I'm going to write the exact word from the text. If it's chair, I'm going to write chair, not chairs. Because I have to use only one word, I'm going to write only chair, not appropriate chair. So I have to follow my instructions. I have to follow, the grammatical form of the word, right? So if it's singular, I write it as a singular word only. Right? So now I have my answer for question number 21 over here. Now when I try to solve question number 22, I do not read from the beginning because it follows the order. So I am going to read from here. So question number 22 says, provision of arrangements to deal with any work related something. Now provision means, again, to make something available. So provision of arrangements to deal with any work related. Now these are our keywords. To make something available for some problem that is work related. So I keep on reading from here. In cases where an employee suffers from an allergy caused by something in the workplace. So there is something that is happening at the workplace, work related something, and provision for that. So in cases where an employee suffers from an allergy caused by something in the workplace, the employer should consider remedial action or transfer to alternative work. So transfer to alternative work, provision of arrangements. So when I'm searching for the keywords, you people have to remember this thing, that it's going to be paraphrased. So do not expect that you are going to find the exact words of the questions in the text. No. When you're searching for the keywords, you're going to search for the synonyms. You are going to search for closely associated words of keywords. So do not expect that these same words would be there. So there is going to be closely associated words. There is going to be synonyms. And you have to understand that. So provision of arrangements, transfer to alternative work, at workplace, work related, something in the workplace. And what is that provision? Or not the provision actually, what is that thing which happens at workplace? So what are we talking about? The thing that happens at workplace is allergy. Someone suffers from an allergy. So the answer here would be allergy. One word only, I'll only write allergy. Now, for question number 23rd, because I found my answer over here, for 23rd, I'm going to read from here. Time off work to deal with short-term problems of something. So there would be discussion of time off work. And what's the time of work required for? to deal with short-term problems. These are my keywords now. So I'm going to search for these exact words, if not synonyms, if not that closely associated words. So now the text says, if the absence is because of temporary difficulties relating to dependence. Absence is because of temporary difficulties. Absence, temporary difficulties, time off work, absence. Closely associated words, temporary difficulties, short-term problems, synonyms, closely associated words. So I have my keywords. So what are these problems related to? That I have to answer. Time of work, to deal with short-term problems of. So these difficulties are related to dependence. That would be my answer. And again, do not make any grammatical mistake. If it's written as dependence with an S, you have to write the S at the end. Alright, and only one word. Now, we keep on reading for the next question. So I'll read somewhere from here for question number 24. It says, possibility of arrangements that are something to help with domestic responsibilities. Possibility of arrangements that are something to help with domestic responsibilities. These are my keywords. So again, I search for them. The employee may be entitled to have time off under the provisions of the Employment Rights Act 1996 in cases where the employee has difficulty managing both work and home responsibilities. I have my keyword: domestic responsibilities, home responsibilities. So, what are the possibilities of arrangements that are something to help with domestic responsibilities? What will be the word that will come over here? So, in cases where the employee has difficulty managing both work and home responsibilities, employee have the right to request flexible ways of working. So, arrangements, what kind of arrangements are there when this is the case? When employee, they have domestic responsibilities, what kind of arrangements should be offered to them? So possibilities of arrangement that are something. In cases where the employee has difficulty managing both work and home responsibilities, what kind of arrangements are made for them? So employees, they can request flexible ways of working. So what kind of arrangements? Flexible arrangements must be made available to employees that have difficulty managing both work and home responsibilities. So I am going to write the exact word over here: arrangements that are flexible. So for question number 25, it says, make it clear that absence is a possible reason for something. So what it means is that because of absence, something can be, done. So absence can result in. So we have to find that what can absence result in. So my keywords are absence, possible reason for something. So because of absence, what can be done, that we have to find out. So I keep on reading from here. It says employers should investigate unexpected absences. Yes, it talks about it promptly, and the employer should be asked for an explanation at a return to work interview in order to show both the employee concerned and other employees that absence is regarded as a serious matter and may result in dismissal. So as soon as I read this sentence, it clearly says that absence is a serious matter, and because of absence, what can happen? It can result in dismissal. So this means because of absence, what can happen? Dismissal. That would be my answer. So again, I'm trying to match my keywords in the text. I'm going to write the exact word over here. So make it clear that absence is a possible reason for dismissal. Question number 26 then says, ask employees for consent before contacting their something. So before something related to employees or someone related to employees is contacted, their consent should be taken. So the keywords here are consent, contacting. So we keep on reading from here. It says, it is very important that persistence absence is dealt with formally and consistently. Records showing lateness and the duration of and explanations for all spells of absence should be kept to help monitor levels of absence or lateness. Now in this paragraph I do not see these keywords, so I keep on reading. If the employer wishes to contact, keyword contact, contacting there. So if the employer wishes to contact the employee's doctor for more information about a medical condition, he or she must notify the employee in writing. Notify the employee in writing, taking consent. So what or who has to be contacted? So before contacting someone, the consent has to be taken. And who is that someone according to the text? That is employee's doctor. So here my answer would be, ask employees for consent before contacting their doctor. That would be my answer. Right? And now let's come to the last question. It says, identify employees affected by something and provide support. So identify employees who are affected by something and provide support. So we keep on reading over here. It says, they intend to make such an application and they must secure the employee's consent in writing. Consideration should be given to introducing measures to help employees regardless of status or seniority who may be suffering from stress. So consideration should be given to introducing measures to help employees, provide support. These are my keywords. The mean one and the same thing. Introduce measure to help employees, and support or help is provided to whom? Those employees who are affected by stress, who may be suffering from stress. So identify employees who are affected by stress and provide them support. And with this, we are done with the discussion of sentence completion types of question. So this is how you have to solve these types of question in your examination. Remember, number one, the order of the question, that will follow the order of the text. Number two, scan the text for the keywords. Once you have found the keywords, then skim it. Try to understand the summary of that part. And write the exact word from the text over here. Follow the instructions very carefully. Do not write a singular word instead of a plural word, and vice versa. Do not change the parts of speech. You have to write the exact word from the text. Alright. So with that, we have particularly discussed everything that was related to sentence completion. In the next video, we'll be discussing many more such types of questions that are there in IELTS reading, whether it's academic or general. So if you want to make sure that you do not miss out on any video in the future, please subscribe to my channel Sneha for CELPIP and IELTS. Like my videos, share them with whosoever needs it, and I will come back with many more types of questions for you people. Take care. Goodbye.